Murdaugh testified for his dad, but after the guilty verdicts and after his father was sentenced to spend the rest of his life behind bars, we haven't heard much from Buster. That is until now, as he sat down with Fox Nation's Martha McCallum to give his thoughts on the trial, the murders, and his father's alleged innocence. When asked about Judge Newman's remarks at sentencing, Buster didn't hold back. He said that the judge, in his opinion, went too far in his remarks to his dad.
For the sentencing, Judge Newman spoke, and he said that I'm sure Maggie and Paul visit you every night when you're trying to go to sleep, and your dad said every day and every night. Did you think the judge was going too far?
Yeah, I think that's just another one of his clever little lines to suggest that he agrees with the guilty verdict. I think he was very straightforward about that, and I think it was just a kind of a cruel analogy to be throwing out amongst just an overly public trial.
I thought it was awesome. How about you, friends? Let me bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson in the studio. You were there covering the Murdaugh trial for us. You sat right by Buster many days
right
in
behind
the courtroom.
him.
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
Okay, so give us the scoop. What's going on with him?
Okay, so good morning to you. Happy Friday. And wow, the trial of the century. And now we are getting more of a first-hand account from Buster, who was in the gallery with us. And he was also on the stand. Remember that? Well, he is breaking his silence. He is saying that the trial was unfair and that it started out with a tilted table of justice from the very beginning, saying that his father is not capable of double murder of his mom and brother. And also, when asked about whether or not his father was a psychopath, well, he said this, quote, when asked if his father exhibited traits of psychopath, he said, I'm not prepared to sit here and say that it encompasses him as a whole, but certainly I think that there are characteristics where you look at the manipulation and the lies and the carrying out of such that I think that that's a fair assessment. So basically, Buster Murdaugh saying that, you know, he doesn't think his dad is a killer, but he's a psychopath in some regard there. So I'm not sure how that adds up, but yeah, very interesting.
A peaceful psychopath, I guess. Yeah, an innocent psychopath.
Yeah,
perhaps.
not so much.
Wow.
And he went on to say that, you know, basically investigators were looking at his dad from the very beginning, and they got the wrong guy. What do you think? Well, here's what he said.
So you think the police didn't do the job?
I think there's an awful lot of pressure to come up with a suspect.
All right, so again, this is all part of the fall of the House of Murdaugh. This is an interview. And he said that the jurors, as for them, they predetermined what the outcome of the trial would be. This is pretty interesting. Take a listen.
12 jurors all agreed that your dad killed your mom and Paul.
That's right.
What do you think about that?
I do not believe it was fair.
Why?
I was there for 6 weeks studying it, and I think it was a tilted table from the beginning. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of the jurors felt that way prior to when they had to deliberate. It was predetermined in their minds prior to when they ever heard any shred of evidence.
Okay, well, he says that he is basing this, Julie, on the 6 weeks that he was there watching the trial from the gallery. And remember, he's an attorney himself.
Buster. Oh,
Buster,
yeah, just
he
an
worked at the law
unlicensed,
firm.
right? Didn't he?
Yeah,
I'm not
quite sure where it sits.
Something happened. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. I thought something happened in law school, right?
Maybe, but he worked at the dad's law firm
did do work
for
as a
quite
paralegal
some
or something.
time, you know, family business.
Sure.
But, yeah.
Speaking of dad, this series, Alec Murdaugh apparently is participating some, isn't he?
And he's unable to watch it this morning, Julie.
Right.
Or us.
Tell us why.
Well, because he got in trouble. He was breaking the rules. Imagine that, Julie. Someone
rules don't apply to him.
Yeah, rules do not apply to him. He cannot make any phone calls right now. He cannot watch any TV. He can't use that tablet that he has access to. Remember those shirtless photos? He can't take any more of those. Well, here's why. Department of Corrections released a statement saying that inmate Alec Murdaugh participated in an interview with Fox Nation for an upcoming documentary entitled The Fall of the House of Murdaugh. During the interview for the news media, which he recorded and provided to the production company, inmate Murdaugh willingly and knowingly abused his telephone privileges to communicate with the news media for his own gain. Now, there are allegations here from the Department of Corrections, Julie, in South Carolina, saying that he was using someone else's PIN, another inmate's PIN, and also one of his defense attorneys, Jim Griffin, was involved in that phone call in recording it as Alec was reading journal entries for this documentary. So this is multi-layered to see what the ripple effect is going to be. Will Jim Griffin be held accountable if he is found guilty of doing this behavior that he should know better?
Right. Yeah, that's really bad if his attorney helped him break the rules in the prison.
Because you have to think, where was the money going for that?
Yeah, good question. Great reporting. Matt Johnson, thank you so much for all of that.
Of course.
I want to bring in my guests, see what they think about Buster Murdaugh. Former DEA Senior Special Agent David Katz is with us, and celebrity trial attorney John Phillips is with us as well. Okay, let's start with Buster and how Buster just still thinks Dad didn't do this, and he's still clearly on Dad's side. David Katz, why do you think that is, please?
Well, that's not uncommon. You know, it strikes, this term cognitive dissonance. You know, like this two contradictory beliefs. Like, oh yeah, Dad's a psycho. However, his mental illness only extends so far. I mean, that's kind of like, what? You know where else? Larry Rudolph, the dentist who murdered his wife in Africa with a shotgun. His kids still say, no, Dad couldn't have. Dad. The evidence is it's overwhelming. So, I mean, I understand why a child would have difficulty believing that a parent could kill not only the mother but also another sibling. But I mean, at some point, reason's got to rule over your desire not to see your father in that kind of light.
Exactly. I wonder if he's afraid of his father. I wonder if he's afraid to say something contrary to what he did in the interview. John Phillips, this is something great to bring you in on. We know there are appeals taking place right now. We know judges who serve in appellate divisions all across our great country are not immune to what's on television and in the newspaper. So do you think that perhaps there could have been an advisement to be cognizant of whatever said Mr. Buster Murdaugh? It could come back to haunt Dad on appeal?
Hey, I represent a guy named Joe Exotic. And if you don't
we love that you do, John Phillips.
If you don't think we haven't used the media to say, hey, Judge Polk, we have our motion for a new trial pending. Hey, appellate court, this is what's going on. You do. I always talk to my clients in both perception and reality, right? You got to control both. And then the kind of tripartite triple thread of the justice system, which is criminal, civil, and court of public opinion. And judges and appellate courts and all of that, are affected by it, do have sympathy and pay attention. Now, they're supposed to put all of that aside, just like jurors are. But, if you know something, it's hard to unring that bell. And I'll add this point. I looked it up, and it looks like the young buck was kicked out of law school for low grades and plagiarism. So he does not.
Yes.
He didn't complete, but plagiarism.
Thank you for that.
Apple tree, right?
That's right. And in a court of law, I'm so glad you brought that up, John. Crimen falsi as the Latin name and the term that we use in the court, that comes in. And so that is not good. Plagiarism was why he was kicked out. And then here he's speaking his truth. Everyone can choose to believe it or not. But Alec Murdaugh in the jail, quickly, or the prison, big difference. The fact that his attorney assisted him on this, I mean, that just to me, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's bad enough he did it, but the attorney should have known better. Oh my gosh. John, to you on this one, your thoughts hearing that about Jim Griffin?
you see this stuff, and I've been accused of it. When Mr. Maldonado, Joe Exotic, got a cell phone, they're like, Mr. Phillips or one of his prior attorneys had to be involved. There are guards that actually recycle these cell phones, but to hear attorneys help their clients commit crimes while in prison or get access, every client wants to justify having a cell phone or access or special privileges, but the lawyer can't participate in that.
Right.
I'm all for bringing them up with the bar when that stuff is found. You can't. You got to help your client. You got to do your best, but the law is the law.
Sure is. Nobody's above the law. Alec Murdaugh doesn't have the benefit of his badge and his blue police lights in the prison there. We'll leave it here for now. We've got another case we've got to talk about when we come back.